dog. Yeah.
This card don't read so good. Wake up. This card in the set. What the hell is this? Best in show. All right, what is up, my friends? Start your engines. Woo! Let's go. The Aetherdrift complete set review. We're going over every single card in the entire set. We already did white. If you missed it, go watch it on YouTube. That's how things just go watch it, all right? And going over all the cards, giving out the awards you know and love. Your Best in Show award, your Sleeper card award, Trap card award, and Bombin Common award. And I'm just pumped to go through the set and get ready for the set. It's a very exciting set for me because obviously we got 10 new brews coming up. We got Bronze Mythic coming up. That's all great. And I fly to Chicago for a freaking Pro Tour in like 2 weeks. It's so fast. The turnaround in the sets is really, really fast. So very exciting, very good stuff. I'm pumped for it. Let's just hop in. Before we start, I want to remind y'all, support the content, hit the like button, leave a comment, follow the channel. If you like these set reviews, a lot of work goes into them, and your support makes that possible. So don't be shy. Hit like on every video, support the content. Let's do it. As for the bonus sheet, the special guest will be a short. Look for that as a short on TikTok and YouTube and stuff. First card of the day for blue is Aether Siphon. And I wanted to give this card a sleeper award, actually. If you can believe it. Blue 1 for an artifact. It's got Start Your Engines. So again, I'll go over the mechanics as we go through. Start Your Engines is a new mechanic, kind of similar to the Ring Tempts You, where once you play a card with Start Your Engines, you get a speed counter, it starts on 1. And then anytime your opponent would lose life for the first time during your turn, so only what happens once a turn, your speed goes up by 1. That's it. No extra things to track, no other abilities, just a number. And then the cards tell you what to do. Most of the time, it is max speed, do something. So once you're at 4, you stop gaining speed counters and things turn on. This card, Start Your Engines, does not matter very much. I think that text is almost irrelevant. On aggressive creatures and things like that, Start Your Engines is very, very important, all right? Because you want to get going, you deal damage, yada, yada, yada. On a card like this, it's almost like an afterthought. What interests me here is we've got a 3-mana artifact that you can tap to and draw a card with. That is the cheapest we have ever seen this effect for, all right? This is 1 mana more up front than like Record or Bank Buster or Maze Mind Tome, and it's not capped. You just keep drawing cards over and over and over and over again. And we're currently in a format that has both the Enigma Jewel and Omen Hawker, which are 2 ways to very, very cheaply generate mana for abilities. So if I go turn 1 Enigma Jewel, turn 3 this thing, I can just immediately tap both and draw a card. That's insane. That's really, really powerful. So, you know, Jada Meme, whatever it's called, Tome was the original like artifact. Hi, Karn, how are you? That drew cards. It was like 4 mana to play, like 4 mana to activate. That was a good card too. So I think this card's got a gas. Is it going to see play? I'm not going to like call this the best card in the set. I'm not going to say it's going to be a huge player, but I think this card's one to watch. You know, we still have the Power Stone stuff happening from Brothers War. There's still artifact things happening as well. Just good stuff, you know. So I think this card's really cool. Probably more for constructive and limited though. Although again, for limited, it's just pretty cheap. You know, like this kind of effect is usually clunky, but this is not that bad. So card's cool. I'm a big fan. It didn't win the sleeper award because it was a better sleeper, I think. But I am a pretty big on this card. Bounce Off. I feel bad. Sam Party posted in our Pro Tour channel in the spoiler section. He posted this card. He went, "Damn it! I just want to use my beta unsummons." Strictly better than unsummon. So if this card's legal, sorry, unsummon, you're not seeing play anymore. So this just bounce a creature or vehicle. This is really, really thin. Like, bouncing a vehicle that's not activated as a creature is like a real corner case scenario too. So kind of a bummer to see like a card that's like basically just unsummon, but you have to play because it's better, you know? I don't know, whatever. But unsummon is unsummon. You know, it's going to be okay and limited. If you need unsummon Extructive, this is the card you're playing now. But yeah, you get the idea. Oh my god, it's a booty.
Good lord.
We got a cycle of uncommon legends that are vanilla creatures in this set. And the blue entry is a 2-mana 0/8 octopus. 8 octopus, get it? Get eight arms to hold you. Anyway, nothing to read here. It's just an 08 for 2. Obviously not playable constructed. I don't think, honestly, let me retake that back. I think an 08 for 2 is an outside shot for constructed. This blocks everything. You know, if you're playing a deck that is a mono blue deck or some deck that doesn't have a lot of rule spells in it, this can just block their Heartfire hero 2 or 3 times, which is fine. There have been times in the past where I have played like blue 1 mana 04 in the sideboard of my control decks to block Goblin Guides and stuff too. So, not like completely improbable this card could see play constructed. Probably not. This block Streaming Nemesis is very good also, yeah. But yeah, kind of cool. Hi, Karin. How are you? No, nothing. I'm not gonna lay down. Whatever. So yeah, cool card. In limited, this card's like almost a Doomblade, which is kind of fun. So it's cool. I like his Vanilla Legends a lot. Really good stuff. Diversion Unit. It's meant for a 2/1 flying artifact creature robot. Beep boop. And it's a flyer. Pay blue, sacrifice creature, encounter target instant or sorcery spell. Plus controller pays 3. I think this card is like okay. There's like the Hermit from the Innistrad sets that like saw a decent amount of play. But that card was like a 2/2 flyer on the backside also. Just a little rough. So, I don't know. This card's okay. You know, obviously good against Sunfall and stuff like that too. The problem with this card is that like you play it, try and defend against Sunfall, they just end step kill it, untap it, get Sunfall, you know? So like, I don't know. And yeah, it's only instant sorceries too. It is a flyer, but like we're pretty far past the days of like a random 2/1 flyer being a reasonable stat line for constructed. So for constructed, I think this card's kind of eh. For limited, sure, good card. 2/1 flyer, it's an artifact. It's obviously artifact synergies too. But yeah, constructed, I think this card is like, there's just better flyers. So Flood the Engine. This was very close to Bombin Common. This is a really good removal spell. 3 mana for a enchantment or a common. Enchant a creature or a vehicle. EDPs tap the permanent, and then the permanent loses all abilities, very important part, and doesn't untap or controller's untap step. So the lose all abilities part is the important part here. Because typically the problem that these sort of like blue lockdown enchantments have is that they still have the abilities. So they have some sort of like good static effect or, you know, whatever effect, they can just keep using it over and over again. This turns it off completely. This is very, very close to like a blue murder, which is great because blue doesn't get murdered very often. So this is a very good limited removal spell. I don't think you would like be cutting any of these from your deck, you know. You might not play like the 4 mana versions of this card, but 3 mana of this card is really, really good. The one thing to be aware of here is there are some things in the set that have untap abilities. Because of the the saddling stuff happening and the vehicle stuff happening, some cards that care about untapping things, that could get you for this card. But otherwise, this card's great. Flood Your Engine, great removal spell, unlimited, good stuff. Oops. Gear Seeker Serpent returns. I like this card. This card's cool. Affinity for Artifacts also returns.
We have technology.
Love me some Affinity. And Affinity, of course, is a very, very powerful mechanic. It's obviously not as good without Artifact lands. All right, so temper expectations a little bit, but still very powerful. This card was really good in the first time around in Kaladesh Limited, and I imagine it'll be the same in this format as well. So 7 mana for a 5/6 huge body, Affinity for Artifacts, and then a 6 mana unblockable, which is relevant in the late game. It's 5's a lot, right? This card's pretty sweet in artifacty sets because a lot of times there's a lot of good artifact removal, and if your payoff is a non-artifact, that's great. So they need to have like a Doomblade or whatever to kill this thing. It's pretty freaking big, blocks really well, good late game card. Obviously, you need to have a lot of artifacts in your deck, but I think if this thing costs 4 mana or less, you're pretty happy. And if you can cast it for like 2 or 3 mana, you're way ahead on rate too. So card's great, just great limited card. Constructed card, it does trigger beans, which is kind of cool, but I think there's better ways to do that probably. So probably not there, but cool stuff. Glitch Ghost Surveyor is next. The metaphor a 2/2 flyer. It's got Start Your Engines, the max speed mechanic, and then it has max speed 3, exile from your graveyard, draw a card. So there's one of these in every color. That's a common. That is a reasonable body where you spend 3, exile from your graveyard, and draw a card. And this one is the worst, I think.
Still a piece of garbage.
2/2 flyer for 3 is bad these days. Windrake is no longer a good limited card. So I think that the draw of the cards that have this like max speed, exile for your graveyard, draw card is things you want to trade off, right? So a bear, a 3/3 for 3, even a 3/2 for 3. Things that block reasonably well. You just play it early, attack with it, they trade, cool. Make a good trade and go. A Windrake doesn't want to trade. It's always going to trade down. So a Windrake's the kind of card you want to leave in play and just keep attacking with. And it's not strong enough where they have to kill it either. So like, I think this card's pretty bad. It's not very good as a creature. It's pretty hard to get in the graveyard. Not really a fan. It does, because the flying is there, it kind of can give you a chance to get your speed going. But there's plenty of ways to do that. Just attack, you know? Like, you don't need to have this, like, weak, evasive body. So I think this card's, like, pretty bad. I think it's still okay, because there is some value. Just, like, being able to draw a card late in the game is great. But the front side is really, really bad. Guide Light Optimizer. 2 mana for a 2/1 artifact creature robot. Beep boop. Taps for 1 blue. Says mana only to activate, so only to cast an artifact spell or activate any ability, not just artifact abilities. So we haven't seen the exhaust mechanic yet. That's a major mechanic in the set, which is very, very ability focused. This is like pretty typical. You see this card fairly often in artifact sets. If you're playing a bunch of artifacts, this card's probably good in your draft deck. If you're not, it's probably not good in your draft deck. You know, pretty simple stuff. But yeah, card's fine. Good limited card. Ability stuff is kind of cool too. 2/1 body, I kind of like on these. I prefer it to like being like a 1/3 because like it can at least attack and trade. But yeah, kind of cool. Howler's Heavy's next. Captain Hook. 4 mana for a 3/4. It's a seal pirate. Where's Karn? Where's Karn? Karn's got the seal hands, you know. Cycling 2. Cycling returns in this set. Whenever you cycle this card, it's our creature or vehicle an opponent controls, gets -3/-0 at end of turn. So the cycling effect is pretty cool, right? Could be a 2-for-1. You know, if I have a bear, I attack. You have a bear, you block. I cycle this. I get to draw a card and kill your thing. That's nice, you know? That being said, the body's pretty bad. Like, you are just never, ever happy casting this as a 3/4. So it's mostly like a finicky trick. You know, I think a buyout option to play as a creature is okay, but like the buyout option here is just cycle it also. So I would be pretty unhappy casting this card. It's mostly just kind of a bad trick. It's okay. There is some like discard synergy as well. So for the most part, this is a spell, but I don't know. It's just okay, I think. Hull Drifter. Mole Drifter is that you? Mole Drifter? I'm a little making this Bombin Common call with a bit of trepidation. Because Hull Drifter is not a creature itself, obviously. 5 mana for a 3/2 flying vehicle. ETB, draw 2. Crew 3. 3 is a lot. You know, 3 is a lot. Normally, I wouldn't be that happy about a vehicle this small, crewing for 3 for 5 mana. Drawing 2 is obviously awesome. The thing about this card is that because Mole Drifter is an inherently defensive card, this is a card you play. You probably have something in play defensively anyway, and then you can just crew and block with it immediately, and then make the trade-off, which is great. So that's a really powerful thing to do in limited and control deck. Draw 2 on a basically a 3-for-1 on a common is quite excellent. It's not quite board presence, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm making this pick a little bit, you know, I'm not entirely sure. My initial impression was bad. I thought about it a little more. I think it's actually quite good maybe, but I'm not sure. We'll see. It does impact the board because you got to understand that like your goal with a Mole Drifter is to play it, draw 2, block and trade, right? This card does that. Like if your board's empty, sure, whatever, that's awful for you. But like if you have some stuff in play, you just animate and block, do your thing. That's great. It's much more of a blocker than an attacker, and it does do that too. So that's a Bombin Common pick. Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, I gotta take my shots, all right? I'm up on stage here making my shots. Constructed, obviously not. But there you go. Bombin Common for blue, Hull Drifter. Next up is Keen Buccaneer, an octopus pirate. 3 mana for a 2/3 vigilance. Has exhaust. So exhaust is a new mechanic. Very, very simple. Exhaust simply means this ability can only be used once. Period. So 2 mana, draw and discard, and put a counter on this creature. That's pretty good, honestly. 2 vigilance for 3 is obviously pretty bad, but like, you know, in the mid game you can loot, get it sized up a bit here. If it were to be bounced and replayed again, you can use the exhaust ability again. If it were to be blinked, same thing. Not a great card. It's a fillery card, but like, you know, could be worse, I guess. There's some discard synergy and stuff too, so it's okay. Memory Guardian. Oh, Affinity. Oh, boy. Affinity. Oh, let's go.
I bet you weren't expecting that one, guy.
Most important thing when evaluating any Affinity card. is how many pips are in the card. All right. The reason why Affinity was so broken the first time around was Frogbite and Mirror Enforcer, no pips. So you can just go nuts, just dump them. This one's only got 1 pip. That's pretty good. All right. So 3/4 flyer, 4/5 with Affinity for artifacts. It's also an artifact itself, which is also very important because you don't want your Affinity payoffs to be non-artifacts. You want to have as many artifacts as possible in your deck, including your payoffs. So this card's pretty awesome. It triggers up the Beanstalk, which is kind of cool. And then, of course, it is just a cheap flyer. And so Affinity, this card is definitely has a chance for play in Constructed if there is some sort of like, all-in artifact deck. That being said, no artifact lands. It makes it kind of a hard sell. We don't even have like Treasure Vault or whatever anymore. The only artifact land in Standard is Scene of the Crime, which is a tap land, which is like not that exciting. But honestly, could be worth it. Like Affinity is that powerful. But yeah, again, a lot of good artifact stuff in the format already. Synthesizer, cards from Brothers War. So definitely has a chance to Constructed. In limited, this card's great for playing on artifacts, obviously. And this is just an exciting card because it's a cheap Affinity card with only 1 pip, and this is cool stuff. So looking forward to it. Midnight Mangler's next. 2/4 A3/3 vehicle. During turns other than yours, this vehicle is an artifact creature. Crew for 2. So we see this in basically every set, right? The 2-mana 3/3 that can't attack unless some condition based on the set is met. I normally kind of like those cards. Typically, your blue decks are more defensive, and like this blocks. Those cards typically block well. You just play it on turn 2. It either trades or holds back an attacker. It's cheap. That's great. This one, Cruise for 2, which is not that bad to attack. It's also an artifact for synergy stuff too. So like, you want to get your Affinity on? Well, play this guy, right? So this card's kind of nice, Vehicle synergies, Affinity synergies, blocks totally fine, good in defensive decks. Not a particularly high pick, but I think this card's sweet, honestly. Cool draft card, cool defensive card. And then if you have a bunch of random tokens lying around to crew, it can attack as well, which is nice, So cool stuff. Like this card a lot. Good variation on the theme. Mindspring Merfolk. 1 mana for a 1/1 Merfolk Wizard. Has the Exhaust ability. Can only use it once. Blue X. Draw X cards and put a counter on each Merfolk creature you control. Weird card, right? Like, elves and goblins are known for making a bunch of mana. Merfolk, not exactly known for that. There are Merfolk in Standard because of the Ixalan sets. So, like, there's, I played a Merfolk deck on stream, like, last week. So, like, there are Merfolk for this card to hang out with. But, like, I don't know if Mind Spring is the ability you really want in your Merfolk deck. Body's really small. Obviously, the Merfolk deck was a Soul Cauldron deck, and this can kind of, like, do that. But
Still a piece of garbage.
I don't think it's very good. And again, like, Merfolk decks are not known for making a lot of mana, so to be fair, there is the Nykthos for creature types in Standard right now too, but like that's a real long shot. So, and limited, sure, I would play this card. It's fine, but Mu Yanling Wind Rider Desparked. 4 mana for a 2/4 legendary human wizard pilot. Whenever it enters, make a 3/2 colorless vehicle token with crew 1. This is a common token you'll see across the set. Vehicle tokens much worse than creature tokens because they're obviously not creatures by themselves. Having a bunch of vehicles in play is like not necessarily a great thing to have because like you can't necessarily use them. So a little worse there. But vehicles have flying. Every one of our creatures you control deals with flying deal combat damage to a player. Draw a card. This card has such ridiculous competition. It is like not even funny. Look at this card, and then look at Enduring Curiosity. Yeah, that's not a good place to be. So yeah, I think this card's a non-starter for Constructed. Eliminative, this card's great. It's 2/4, has some value, whatever. But Constructed-wise, just like a joke compared to the options of 4 mana. Nimble Thopterist, 4 mana for a 3/2 ETB, make a Thopter token. Fine card. Obviously it'd be better as a 2/2 for a 3, but this is a totally reasonable limited card. 2 bodies, a couple crews, can block well. Play this, trade off, have a flyer in play, cool. Just a good limited card. You've seen this card 1,000 times. Possession Engine, that's a cool one. 5 mana for a 5/5 artifact vehicle. When it ETBs, you gain control of the creature an opponent controls for as long as you control this vehicle. However, that creature can't attack or block for as long as you control this vehicle. So, you steal the card, you can't use it. However, it can just crew the vehicle, right? So it can crew other things too. So it's a cool card. I think at 5 mana, if his card is outside the realm for constructed, I think if his card was like a 4 mana, like 3/3 vehicle, this card would be a big deal. But for 5 mana, constructed wise, not really there. Bomb and limited for sure. Really good limited card. But yeah, good card. Pretty cool. It's fun. Ranger's Refueler. It's meant for an uncommon 3/3 vehicle. Whenever you activate an exhaust ability, draw a card. That's good. Exhaust 4. This becomes a creature and put a counter on it. So this is a really good uncommon, obviously. There's plenty of exhaust abilities across the set. And in limited, you're going to see a lot of them. If this ever draws 1 card, you're stoked. And honestly, just like play this on 2. Turn 4, tap 4 mana, have a 4/4 draw card. That's just like fine. So crew is also a great limited card. Constructed, probably not. If there's some sort of like combo deck with like Agatha Soul Cauldron and exhaust effects, this could be a player constructed, but probably not, honestly. So yeah, cool. Repurposing Bay. Wait, I'm sorry. Is that Birthing Pod?
It's a trap.
Mana for an artifact. Pay 2. Sack another artifact. Search your library for an artifact card mana value equals to 1 plus the artifact's power. Put it in the battlefield and then shuffle only as a sorcery. So this card is obviously Birthing Pod-esque, right? It is more expensive than Birthing Pod is because it costs 2, not 1. And realistically, this card would need a lot of things to go right for it to work. There's a lot more like ETB value stuff in the creature realm than in the artifact realm, as well as a lot of more like combo-y, untap your stuff, kill you, Kiki, whatever thing. I don't think this card does that. So I think this card is bad. I don't know. I mean, like, obviously, I'm sure there might be some combo with this card I'm missing or whatever. I think it's probably better in older formats where the pool of things you can get is bigger. But overall, I'm just pretty underwhelmed. I think this card is like very exciting to look at. Like, oh, cool, Birthing Pod, but I think in limited, it's a non-starter. So not very exciting. Purposing Bay is trap card for the set. Is what it is. River Churn Monument. 2 mana for an artifact. Pay 1. And target player each mill 2. And then has the exhaust ability of 4 mana tap. Any number of target players, each mill cards equals the number of cards in their graveyards. This is a pretty banger Mind Stone, right? Similar to the Tome getting an upgrade. This is a better, not Mind Stone, Millstone. 2 mana to play and then 1 mana to mill it's obviously not great, but you can mill yourself, which is important to note for like self-mill stuff. And then obviously, if they've got 20 cards in their graveyard, you could just one-shot them maybe with the exhaust ability. That's very expensive too, though. So I don't know. Mill is not a particularly exciting thing. Typically constructed. A card like Jace is cool because it's a card you can just play. It's reasonable enough early on, and then allows you to win the game in those slow matchups as well. This card has a lot less utility than that. All it does is mill. So yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's okay. Fun and limited because like mill is better with a 40 card deck too. But yeah, I think this card is mostly not great, but it is, a pretty cheap millstone. Roadside Blowout. 3 mana for a sorcery. This costs 2 less to cast if it targets a permanent mana value 1. Oh no, 1! If it was 1 or less, this card would be awesome. But
It still only counts as 1.
just 1. Yeah, it's just 1. So this bounces a creature or vehicle and draws a card. As a sorcery, obviously this is a lot worse than if it was an instant. But Repulse is still, like, pretty good. Yeah. I mean, bouncing a Heartfire here for 1 and drawing cards, pretty sick. So, like, it is a pretty cool blue card. Could definitely play Constructed, I think, based on that alone. Just, like, against aggro decks for a blue deck, just, like, 1 mana bounce draw is kind of cool. But, yeah, overall, I don't think it's quite there in Constructed. If this get bounce tokens and draw, this card would be a banger in Constructed. But, yeah, I don't know. Better in older formats where there's more, like, 1 mana things floating around. But yeah, cool card, good limited card for sure. Fun card to exist for older formats. It's cool. Sabotage Strategist. 4 mana for a 2/2 flying vigilance. Terrible stat line. Whenever 1 or more creatures attack you, those creatures get -0/-1 out of turn. And as exhaust 7, put 3 counters on this. So awful stat line. 2/2 flyer for 4 is just awful.
Still a piece of garbage.
That being said, the Cumberstone ability of shrinking power by 1 is a really powerful one. So like, there's a bit of tension there, but like, I think that like the upfront cost of this body is just so bad. And then 7 mana, it's a 5/5 flying vigilance, cool. But I don't know. Just think the body is just too bad on this card. Just think it's not a playable card limited. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but it also feels like this set's a little more tall than wide, right? You're playing these big vehicles, not like little shitters. So don't think this card's very good. I would not be surprised if this is one of the top 5 lowest win rate cards in the entire set when all is said and done and limited. Surrounding Skyray, it's meant for a 1/2 flyer. If you discard 1 or more cards, put that many counters on this creature, and it has cycling. This card's got a gas. There's a much better version in red, which we'll see later. But 2 mana 1/2 flyer, discard a card, now it's 2/3, discard a card, now it's a 3/4, etc. Cool synergy card. Obviously plays well with things that loot or discard immediately. Grows pretty quick, has cycling also. Card's cool. This is a card that might see play. It's almost better in older formats where there are better ways to discard, more efficiently and cheaper and stuff. But yeah, honestly, this card's cool. This card's definitely playable in various spots. It's great and limited as long as you're playing like the discard-based archetype. Doesn't take much to make this card pretty good. 1 or 2 cycles and you're off to the races. Even 1 cycle, you're off to the races here. So yeah, it's cool. Cool card, cool archetype card for older formats. Good limited card. We'll definitely see play, I think, in various spots. It's cool. Cool, it's uncommon too. Sky Streak Engineer. It's meant for a 1/3 flyer. It's a human pilot. Has exhaust 5. Put 2 counters on this. This is like your limited filler, whatever, 2-drop. Pretty bad flying body. Exhausting it is okay, I guess. But a 3/5 flyer for 7 mana isn't very good anyway. So limited filler, not very exciting. If it had the crew text, I don't know why pilots have the crew text sometimes and sometimes don't, but Slick Imitator. It's meant for a 1/3 ooze. Start your engines. Then has max speed. 1 sacrifice this creature. Copy a spell you control. Choose the targets with the copies. The problem with this card, and the problem with any max speed card that is not aggressive, right? It doesn't either in size of creature or in theme. Like copying spells is not a thing you see in aggro decks typically. Is that you're probably just not going to make it to max speed. So the ability is really, really weird. This card does stone nothing if you're not at max speed. So I think this card's pretty bad. Copying spells is sweet, but and if you're playing a blue-red, aggressive prowess deck, just play a good card. Why are you playing this 1/3 to maybe copy a spell, So I think this card's pretty bad. In limited, if you're able to deal some damage and also have some big spells to copy, I guess, but I think this card's pretty bad. Spectral Interference, meant for an instant counter-target artifact creature spell. Let's say pay 4. So Essence Scatter with a little downside of the 4, but a little upside of countering artifacts. I mean, possible fringe play or constructed. Good limited card. There's plenty of artifacts and creatures. One of the fears of Essence Scatter in this draft format would be you have Essence Scatter up and they play a 5-mana vehicle, and you're just crap. So that's kind of nice for limited and stuff, but could see this card seeing playing constructed if things were line up perfectly. But yeah, for the most part, it is what it is. This card's not that far off things you've seen before. Speaking of cards that are not far off things you've seen before, frickin' Spell Pierce is back. I love Spell Pierce. All right, there's nothing like a good Spell Pierce, folks. Let me tell you. Oh boy, 1 mana up, and he's boom. Love it. And yeah, so it's not in Foundations. I honestly think it's smart of them to not put the card in Foundations and then put it in this set. Because by putting it in Foundations, you're locked into it for 5 years. This is a card you might not want to be around all the time. So I actually respect the decision to do that. This card's great. This card is going to be really, really good against the sorcery speed control decks, like Mono White especially. Mono White hates to see this card around. Countering Sunfall, Caretaker's Talent, and so on and so forth. Does make decks like Dimir probably a lot better, which is a little scary too, I guess. But this card's great. Great safety valve to have. Kind of like the art. I would always play old arts, but this art's kind of cool. Silver's is great. Don't play it in limited. I'm just happy it's back. Just love it. Big fan. Oh, look, another freaking Mario Kart reference.
Pointless nostalgia.
5 mana for Spike Shell Harrier, the green shell. I mean the blue shell. You get it like in Mario Kart. It's the blue. It's like it's a thing that. Cool. Robot Turtle 4/4. Whenever it enters, return target of your vehicle an opponent controls to its owner's hand. If that opponent's speed is greater than each other player's speed, reduce their speed by 1, but you can't go below 1. You can't remove their speed overall if they're only on 1. So this is, I think, the only way in Magic to remove speed, which is kind of cool. This is obviously a great limited card, just like a big mana war, little speed interaction, stuff like that too, which is kind of cool. Constructed, obviously not playable, but yeah, you know, that's cool. So yeah, cool card. Cool limited card. Nothing really more. Keep Mulligan. What do you think? Are these sorts of like just hammer it over the head references like good for Magic, bad for Magic? I want to know what your thoughts are. All right. Next up is Stall Out. 2 mana for a sorcery. Tap a creature or vehicle, stun it 3 times, and it has cycling. I kind of like this card actually. I think for limited, this sort of like stun a thing a lot of times effect is really cool and interesting. Because it's like, it's not a kill spell. It's not like exactly worth a card. Your opponent can play around it, but in the right deck, it feels like a Doomblade, you know, which is great. And it's a really fun thing to build around limited. So that's really, really cool. And I love having a cycling buyout here, right? So if things are getting messy in the mid game and the game stops to be about aggression, you can cycle it, which is cool too. So this card is not a card that every draft deck is going to want, but it's pretty cool, honestly. I think this card is definitely playable in very aggressive blue decks, if that's an archetype. You know, again, we're just seeing this for the first time. So, stock up, folks. Like, I'm sorry, is that dig through time? What's going on here? You had it for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put 2 in your hand and the rest at the bottom. All right. So divination's time is long gone. There was a time, maybe 10 years ago-ish, where I used to play divination in my control decks in standard. Totally reasonable thing to do. Top 8 had many opens of divination in my deck. We're past that time, obviously. But 5 cards is like, holy crap, that's a lot of cards.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so dig through time is 7. Dig through time usually costs 2 at its top rate, and it's banned in certain formats, you know? So, like, I think this card is kind of nice. 5 cards is a lot to look at. It is a sorcery speed 3 mana spell, and standard's obviously about being on the board these days for sure. So, might it be too slow? Yeah, maybe. That's possible, for sure. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, like, that's just a cool card, you know? Yeah, I mean, it's not quite a Memory Deluge, but the card's pretty cool. So I like it. Call it my sleeper card in the set. 5's a lot. Find that Sunfall, whatever else you need. And yeah, eat some ice cream too, I guess. Whatever, sure. Cool. And limited, this card's fine. Probably a little worse than limited because your average card quality is lower. And it's hard to tap out for things that don't affect the board. But good for a control deck. Thopter Fabricator. 3 mana for a 4/4 flying vehicle. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, make a Thopter token. And it's crew 2. Why couldn't it have crew 1? Why? Right? Come on. Throw me a freaking bone here. All right. So this card is, I think, pretty bad. Crew 2 is a killer here. Decks that are like drawing extra cards and trying to use that effect are usually not that creature based. So trying to crew this thing's kind of hard. You play it, doesn't do anything by itself. Just think this card's pretty bad. You know, if this card costs 2 and it was a 3/3, I'm in. But at 3 mana, this kind of like not affect the board, maybe not even do that much kind of card. Just not really it. And limited, this card's great with cycling and everything too. Shouldn't be that hard sugar. But constructed, I think this card's like pretty bad. Trade the Helm. 5 mana sorcery. Exchange control of an artifact creature and their thing. Fun card to have cycling on. Fun limited card. Too clunky for constructed. You know, I think playing this card in limited would probably be okay because the upside's really, really high. But Transit Mage. 3 mana for a 2/2 human wizard. ETB, search your library for an artifact card, mana value 4 or 5. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. I also want to hear about, folks, we've now completed the Trinket Mage cycle. We've got Trinket Mage, which gets 1s and 0s. We've got Treasure Mage, which gets 6 or more. I don't even remember what the one that gets 2 or 3 is, but it's been probably in some commander set. But now I got the one that gets 4 and 5. All right, we did it. Yay. We did all the numbers. We're really, really happy now. Jump the shark, yada, yada, yada. So, whatever. I mean, limited-wise, this card's great, right? You just, like, as long as you have a card to get, it's very, very good. Constructed, I mean, no. You know, like, 4 and 5 mana artifacts are not, you know, this 2-2 buy is kind of worthless. But, yeah, I don't know. This card rubs me the wrong way. This card rubs me in, like, I think a lot of the things that I don't like about this set, like, thematically, are this, and Magic in general the last few years, are this card. It's just like, hey, here's that thing you know about. Okay.
Pointlessness.
There it is. Get it? Here it is. You know, it's like, all right, yeah, we get it. Let's make some new stuff, please. Cool. All right. So, yeah, I mean, good limited card, but whatever. Trip Up. 4 mana for an instant. Non-land permanent on top and bottom. This is just like a baseline limited blue removal spell. Fine. Unexciting. We know what this card does. And as a note, I think that they've gotten the feedback on that. But obviously sets are made like two years out. So like we won't be seeing the results of that feedback for a little while. But yeah. So yeah, just limited card is what it is. Cycling's kind of cool, but Unstoppable Plan. It's freaking Jace. 3 mana for enchantment. Beginning of your end step, untap all non-land permanents you control. This will do stupid things with... I can't even do stupid things. It's not Paradox Engine. This card sucks. Yeah, whatever. Don't put it in your draft deck. I don't think this card has any real relevance, honestly. Like, only triggering once and only in your end step is, like, pretty tough. So, yeah, I don't know, whatever. And then we got... I'm not even going to freaking try. Verbose Host. 2 mana for an 0/4. Start your engines. You have no max hand size, and then max speed if you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. This is also what I'm saying about start your engines, where like this is a 0 power creature with start your engines. I don't know how you're ever getting your speed up when you're playing this card, you know? So I think this card's like pretty bad. I struggle to imagine a deck that would want to play start your engine stuff and then also want to play this card. And the payoff isn't even that good, right? You just like draw an extra card in your draws, like it's whatever. So cool art, but whatever. Waxen Shape Thief. We have 4 mana for a flash clone. It only copies your own stuff, though. Clones that only copy your own stuff are usually pretty bad. You know, a lot of the value of a clone is that like they play a big thing. I can now maintain parity with that, which is cool. So yeah, I think this card is pretty mopey. In limited, it's kind of cool, obviously, and it's flash, so a little bit of value there. Cycling is kind of cool too. So fine limited card. For constructed though, I think this card's a total non-starter. So whatever. And that's it for blue. So best in show for blue is Spell Pierce. Our sleeper card for blue is Stock Up. Our trap card is Repurposing Bay, and our Bombin Common is Hull Drifter. Ends up being terrible. Don't make fun of me. So, YouTube folks, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, all right? Black is next. Let's do this.